The Psyche of Stress, Depression, and Suicide. This is a three-part series. In part 1, we will understand the workings of the mind and its strengthening by healing. In part 2, we will discuss in detail the mind strengthening by training, and in part 3, we will discuss how stress, when unchecked for long, translates into depression and further into suicidal tendencies. We will also discuss holistic supplementary stress management techniques to avoid stress buildup. Let's begin with part 1. It is said it's all in the mind. Mind is a man's best friend and the worst enemy. The nation was recently horrified when the news of a young, talented and upcoming young star of Indian cinema committed suicide. He had a life that is dream for most people of his age. Some time back, there was also news about an ultra-rich businessman having gone bust. His net worth became negative, which means he would have left no money if all his debt was to be repaid. He barely managed to avoid being put behind bars due to the bailout by his rich elder brother. We can't help but wonder why the difference which drives one person to take this extreme measure to self-destruct, while the other one, in an even more dire situation, is able to fight and carry on despite all adversity. The difference is in the puzzling functioning of the mind, a mystery that science and spirituality has tried to unravel since ancient times. A yogi and a normal person have no physical differences at all. The only difference lies in the mind of the two. In fact, every mind is different. There is a distinct difference between the brain and the mind. The brain is a physical entity much like a car engine. But while the mind is invisible like the power generated by the engine, it's the power that drives the car, just like it's the mind that drives the human beings. The mind houses all the innate non-physical qualities of emotion, intelligence, logic and memory. And as the orchestrator, it is responsible for every action a man performs, every second of life. If we can understand the mind and its functioning, we should be able to take a decisive step towards understanding our reality, which in true sense is just what the mind perceives it to be. The same reality is experienced differently by every man. Let us discuss some basics about the mind. Mind consists of two parts, conscious and subconscious. The conscious mind is active during wake state, but the subconscious, which is even bigger than the conscious, is working in the background all the time during wake, sleep and unconscious states. When we refer to the mind in this discussion, we are referring to the collective conscious and subconscious minds together. As the mind carries out various activities, it experiences a wide range of emotions, from the positive emotions of compassion, love, hope and kindness to one of negative emotions like anger, hatred and jealousy on the other. As we go through life, we are accosted by these negative and positive events that shape our mind. We enjoy the joyous events and detest the unhappy events, but eventually the mind learns to manage and cope with all the situations. Our society and schooling is focused on development of qualities such as intelligence, logic and reasoning, but the very important training of emotional control is left out, since the emotions are of no consequence in a capitalistic society where the industrial workers are needed. The mind is ever going. From the first breath at birth to the last breath at death and beyond, its functioning never stops. It can only speed up or slow down as per the situation and training. It is active when we are awake in the conscious state and still awake in the subconscious state when we sleep. That's why we have emotional response to dreams even though we are sleeping. A mind that can handle tough situations with ease is a strong mind. The weak mind, on the other hand, becomes very nervous and fearful when faced with the same situation. But why the difference? The mind is like a muscle. The more it confronts the varied and tough situations of life, the more it learns to cope with these situations. We also call this experience. Comes with age, isn't it? A strong mind is a man's best friend. The physical body can be seen and its strength and stamina can be measured and strengthened by the right side of exercises. However, the mind is not tangible and most of us have never been inward focused, and so we have no way to measure the mind's strengths and weaknesses. In fact, majority of us would not even be aware that there may be something lacking that we need to train our mind. That is why this article becomes important. Mind control is the aim of all spiritual practices. The life is the training ground and the mind is both the trainee and the trainer. But how can we make the mind strong when we know so little about it? The mind can be strengthened by using two key processes, understanding which will help one to deploy these techniques for a more fulfilling life experience. The two mind strengthening processes are first healing and second training. Let's discuss the first one, the healing, which is the nature's healing process. The natural process of healing is a kind of daily reset of the mind. This process happens during sleep and ensures the mind pushes the day's strong emotional memories away from the conscious mind into the background, which is the subconscious. Imagine looking back to a serious fight a few minutes back, a few weeks back, a few months back, or even a few years back. You will see that the more distant negative memory hardly feels painful. Why? Simply because it has been pushed back, or we can say it has been healed over time. Let's understand how mind healing occurs during sleep every night. The mind, like every element on earth, has operational vibrational frequency called brain waves. As we move from wake state to light and deep sleep, level of mind frequency falls and our experiences and emotions in form of memories shift from the gross physical to the subtle or the subconscious, away from the conscious mind. There are various states of mind as we move from the normal wake state to deep sleep state. The first one is the beta state, which is a high frequency of 12 to 30 hertz, and this is the normal wake state of the mind. As the mind frequency lowers and moves from 7.5 to 12 hertz, alpha state is achieved, which is a state of deep relaxation. It is also achieved during light meditation. As the mind gets further into relaxation, theta state is achieved, which is a frequency of 4 to 7.5 hertz. This is the light sleep or rapid eye movement or a dream sleep state, which is also achieved during deep meditation. Here there is the realm of subconscious mind. And on further deep sleep, a delta state is achieved, which is a frequency of just 0.5 to 4 hertz. And this is a dreamless and deep sleep where transcendental awareness is completely detached and the unconscious mind is only active here. It is scientifically established that alpha, theta and delta states help to relieve stress and anxiety by facilitating a deep physical relaxation and mental clarity, reduce pain, promote euphoria and stimulate the release of endorphins. The process of healing or pushing the memories deep into the subconscious happens alongside as the mind moves from the higher state of alpha to the lower state of delta, delta being the lowest frequency, thereby meaning the deepest level of subconscious. It is important also to note that the deeper these memories are pushed into the subconscious, the harder it is for them to be recalled at will by the conscious mind. These memories, however, stay latent as deep-set emotions or sanskaras of fear, grief, greed, lust, anger, etc. And they shape the man's reaction to day-to-day life situations. Due to the varied experiences of every man in life, the collection of latent memories in the subconscious differs, and hence the response of each person to the situation he faces in life. Deep meditative practices such as mindfulness also lower the mind's operational frequency with one major difference. Here the mind is alert and conscious even at a very low frequency of theta and delta states, while during sleep it is not. And so meditation actually supplements or even provides a parallel healing process to nature's healing process. We will examine this in greater detail in the section on mind training. Hypnotic trance afforded by typical voice guided meditation is also able to guide the mind to lower alpha frequency level, and so generally it's a stress buster. Relegating the memory to the subconscious is good and bad both. While on one hand it helps so that we do not roll in the emotion of that event any longer than needed, on the other hand memories that are highly emotional in nature settle deep into our subconscious forever and shape our subsequent response and behavior patterns unconsciously. This is also what we may call baggage. Imagine a near drowning experience by a child, which may result in his being uncomfortable around water even years later. He may feel an extreme unknown fear of water bodies for the rest of his life. It's for this reason that people have phobias of fire, height, water, etc., which they cannot explain. Let us now understand how modern life has taken away nature's gift of healing. Go back a few centuries, life and survival was tough. Physical labor was required as there were no machines to take care of ploughing the fields, traveling, lifting objects, etc. By sundown, these tired people had to switch off from work. They had an early dinner and went off to a full night's sleep in synchronization with sun setting down and coming up. This way the mind had enough time to heal. In a way, the people were living in the now. In contrast, modern times, it's easy, comfortable. Needs and wants are taken care of. Physical labor is done by machines. Motorized vehicles are available for traveling. Electronic and electrical gadgets provide comfort in environment and entertainment. Industrialization, automation, and excessive production has resulted in consumerism. Enjoyments are galore in terms of food variety, vacationing, and other forms of entertainment. This has left people with a mind that is generally free and silent. Since mind cannot be stopped, it has to keep itself occupied on unproductive content on screens and social media or other pursuits of happiness. People consume much higher calories than they burn. Food outlets and delivery services provide a never-ending variety of unhealthy and processed food that is consumed at odd hours and late hours. Added unwanted effects of electromagnetic radiation devices such as mobile phone, digital bands around the body, and the radio waves ever present in the environment interfere with the biorhythm of the body. As life pattern is no longer in sync with the nature's sunrise and sunset, body clock is confused. Quality of sleep suffers, and this impedes mind's capability to enter deep state of healing or deep state of sleeping. Over time, this results in stress buildup, short temper, and impatience in character, ultimately leading to increased stress and then, if left unchecked, depression. It takes more than just sleeping pills and other distraction to undo this damage later. This is the end of part 1 of the discussion. In part 2, we will discuss the very important need of training the mind and understand how attachment and aversion develop in the mind, how it becomes a friend and a foe depending on the situation. We will also discuss the real and the only way to manage stress and face life situations so we are not misled to artificial paths of happiness such as gratitude, being kind to others, compassion, etc. Because unless these traits emerge from the subconscious mind, they do no good, and there is only one way to reach the conscious mind and teach the subconscious mind.